So Marco, thank you very much for doing this. I'm here with Nina Heyn, who's author of a column we published called Food for the Soul. And that's what you're giving us, Food for the Soul. And you've written a book about Leonardo da Vinci. I'm going to ask you about it. But first, would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Well, I'm Marco Malvadi, and I'm a chemist that 10 years ago wrote a book, a mystery, that's for a series of motivations, at least unknown to me still, had a good success, and step by step I involved and enrolled in the writing mysteries, and now I am a writer by principal profession.
And now you're writing about one of the greatest mysteries of history.
Leonardo da Vinci and the equestrian monument. The fact is that I've decided and I've been charged to write this book about Leonardo, and I decided to make all the plots to move about this statue, this monument, the equestrian monument, because it's one of the masterpieces of Renaissance. Despite
it's my favorite sculpture in the world, always has been. Yeah.
It has this fact that it's not so pleasant for a masterpiece of art. It doesn't exist. It has never been realized concretely. And there was a clay in her statue that was thought for a base for the technical realization, and that it was destroyed by the French soldiers in the latest days of the 15th century. But the fact is that in order to do this art piece, Leonardo had to exploit and to overcome all the technical knowledge of his era and all the artistical knowledge of his era about the realization of a monument, because Leonardo started from an intention. The intention was the artist, the painter, the sculptor has to represent the object and his intentions, his point of arrival. So, if you watch an object, you don't watch it immediately, in the same instant, all in all. You look for the eyes, you look for the nose, you look for the mouth. And even if you look for when you take a glaze of a face, you track this face in different times and different positions: eyes, nasal, nose, mouth. The mysterious expression of La Gioconda is due to the fact that this expression is incoherent. Eyes are smiling while the mouth is sad, and this expression is impossible. If you smile with the eyes, immediately the mouth raises. These expressions are two expressions taken in immediately successive moments, and this gives an expression that's incoherent, that doesn't exist. There is a dynamics, and you can't deal with these dynamics, because usually you have people that fakes a smile, so mouth smiles and eyes are sad. But this kind of expression is impossible. At the same time, when you make a horse move, it means that the fastest part of the horse must be longer and slightly thinner than they are in reality. Because in this way you get the impression of the movement. Your brain doesn't see a thinner and a thicker object. It translates this in a meaning of a movement. And there are tens of drawings in which it tries to understand this and to represent this kind of movement. In this, Leonardo is a perfect artist because he understands that there is not the art object. There is a human being that watches an object and gives it meaning. So you are not dealing with an object, you're dealing with the brain, with the senses of a person, trying to make them understand what you figure out, what is your intention. You can understand it completely when you go to read the manuscript by Leonardo, the Manoscritto della Pittura, the manuscript on painting, and you see that Leonardo considers painting a science, not an art, because it's the science of taking an object in 3 dimensions that moves and to represent it into a plate of 2 dimensions it is still. and there gets,
It comes across as if it's three.
yes.
That's
And
why he studied perspective. That's why he studied the optical, the study of the eye.
and the eye and of the way in which color fades away and
That's why he discovered sfumato. And
exactly the sfumato is one of the main point of Leonardo, because he says that borders
Are fuzzy.
are fuzzy, yes, they don't exist.
What is fumato?
Sfumato is the technique with which Leonardo paints. He doesn't track lines and then paints. He applies layers of very dilute colors
Right.
in
So the border's
successive.
fuzzy.
Yes,
Observation is that there is no sharp edge between the two surfaces.
exactly. And the sharp edge is not there. Why? Because first we've got two eyes. So is my one or my the right or the left? Not clear. The light changes at so this abruptly. The people moves, and me, the person that I watch, moves. So even slightly, these borders are not there. And finally, in a three-dimensional body, the border is not there. You are a body placed in an environment, and this is a way in which a very easy way in which our brain deals with three-dimensional objects in an environment is to draw a line and say environment, border, person, environment, border, object. No, Leonardo said, no, this is not true. Sfumato. And this is the motivation why he depicts the Last Supper and he does not make a fresco. Leonardo is not able to make frescoes because they are too fast. It's not possible to paint on plaster and with this technique. So he does an oil and tempera painting on a wall.
Right.
And
And now we have a problem.
and now we have a problem. And even in the style, it was a problem because he used 3 years to make this painting. And sometimes the prior, the chief of the order, said him, Leonardo, you're too slow. You're too slow. And once Leonardo, that was not so polite as in the Renaissance artists used to, they said, okay, you're right. I'm slow. I'm too slow. That you see. I didn't even began to depict the face of Judas. So if you go on bothering me with the fact that I'm slow, let's guess it. Who is going to resemble the Apostolus? Judas. I know your face very well.
Powerful threat for someone who is a monk.
being a passed to history as with the face of Judas is not good for a priest.
You talked about how Leonardo was 30 when he came to Milan, and he came to Milan as what?
as a musician, indeed, as a player of music on an instrument, on a harpsichord of his own building.
I didn't know he'd built an harpsichord.
Yes, several kind of instruments. Some of them have been realized in late years. For example, what is called the viola organista, the key instrument, like a piano or an harpsichord, indeed. But strings are not beaten, neither pickled. They are moved by wheels. So you stroke a key, a wheel begin to move and begin to touch the chord, and you have a piano that sounds like a violin. And this instrument has been realized in 2015 by Sławomir Cybulski, a Polish piano and harpsichord player, and now you have another realization of an idea by Leonardo. But he was an entertainer, as a storyteller. He was very good in storytelling, and only later he became acquainted with the fact that he could paint like he did in Florence. Ludovico il Moro asked him to do a painting, the painting of his lover, Cecilia Gallerani, and in order to present him, to give a present to the Hungarian kings, and Leonardo depicted this La Dama con l'Ermellino, the lady with the
Ermine.
ermine.
Right, yeah.
And Ludovico took the picture and wrote to the king of Hungary saying, sorry, the painting is not is not good. I will send you another painting, but and kept this, and he gave to Leonardo the charge of doing the monument, the equestrian monument, and then it starts all the story. We are in 1485 when it happens. Leonardo studies for 5 years. Then he ceased to think of the horse. The horse was doing charge of Andrea del Pollaiolo, but the drawings of Pollaiolo are not good enough for Ludovico. That calls another time Leonardo, and then we arrive in 1494 when finally the clay statue is ultimated, but there is war. Frenchmen arrived in Italy, they conquered Naples, and now they are going on their way up and on their way up something very sad happens. The king dies, and the king of the French, Charles Le VIII, was not a very good. The Italian ambassadors used to describe him lacking of intellect and of physical strength. That say that by an ambassador is right recruit. And Louis d'Orléans, who is of Orleans, that will become the king, get in charge of the power, and he is completely the opposite of Charles VIII. He is clever, he is strong, he is intelligent, he is a great organizer, and at the end he will win. And he will take Leonardo as one of the prizes, and we will get him in Amboise.
Yeah, if you could tell us what is the main thesis of that book?
The main thesis of the book is that it's a mystery, of course, but the plot is only there in order to speak about what probably Leonardo discovered by casting the horse, because the main threat of the Frenchmen, of the French army, was the fact that they had guns, light and powerful guns made of bronze, and the Italians were not able to cast these guns. But immediately after 1494, Italian men became able to cast these light and robust and efficient bronze guns. So probably, and Leonardo discovered, while trying to cast the bronze statue, how to cast these light guns. And the fact was very
simple. So the French taught the Italians how to build the guns through...
No, Leonardo understood just the fact that you had to reverse the casting. They usually casted the gun from the bottom to the top. In this way, the bronze cools, and the bronze is an alloy. You get a bottom that is richer in tin and the top that is richer in copper. Right. So the bottom is less robust. If you cast the cannon the other way out, you get a reverse cooling, and you get that the bottom is stronger than the top. And this is what you want from a gun. Right. You want it elastic on the tip and robust on the bottom. And it is probably what came out from Leonardo's studies on the horse.
But unfortunately, it kind of turned against him, because what Ludovico Sforza did is that he said, well, I'm so sorry, but all the bronze that was collected in order to cast the horse was then used for the cannons, and the horse was never made. So in fact, he was an architect of his own demise.
So are we going to be able to get the book in English?
Yes, it's published by Europa Editions.
The publisher who's published the Italian, could you tell us a little bit about
that? Yes, it's Giunti Editore. Is one of the most important Italian editors, and he's famous probably the most because he's the publisher of Pinocchio. So,
and so they published the Italian, and then the English will be published?
Europa Editions, by Europa Editions, yes.
Now, how can we follow your work? Do you have a website? Do you have
I have a website, yes, marcomalvaldi.it, and that's all.
That's good. Well, it's been a pleasure meeting you. We're so excited.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
We love Leonardo da Vinci.
Thanks.